Tracy Pullan. Tracy is running for County Court at Law, Montgomery County Court at Law number 2. And she is one of 4 candidates for that race. And is that the one that the Eagle Forum will be hosting this coming Thursday night?
That is correct.
Yes. So this will be a warm-up for the Eagle Forum debate. That will be a totally different forum. But anyway, Tracy, you've got up to 5 minutes to give us an introduction on why you are the best one and so forth. And then we've got 15 minutes of questions and answers.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
We'll be hearing from 3 of the 4 candidates for that court tonight.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me this evening. A little introduction. Of course, my name is Tracy Pullan. I'm a lifetime resident of Montgomery County. I was born and raised here. So, of course, Montgomery County is very near and dear to my heart. And I was informed that y'all want me to convince you that I am the most conservative candidate for this position. And, you know, I thought about it to myself and I decided I don't think I could ever convince anyone of why I'm the most conservative. What I can tell you about is my background and what's important to me, and then hopefully let y'all make that decision about who is the right candidate for this bench. I think just to sum me up a little bit, an easy way for me to think about it in order of importance is faith, family, and fortune. When I'm talking about faith, I am a Christian. I was born and raised in the Woodlands United Methodist Church. My parents were kind of the pathfinders of that church. They started out in the WAC in the Woodlands, and then they eventually got their own church. And I very much remember going through all the phases of that church and the growth that it's gone through, and I'm a very proud member of the Woodlands United Methodist Church and what we lovingly call the Methadome now, which is amazing how big it is. As a member of the church, you know, I've been involved in a lot of things with the church. I was laughing, the craft circle's starting up again, and they do a whole lot of work for missions, and I would always go with my mom in the summers when I was in school, and we would sit and do craft circle and do fellowship with all the wonderful ladies and the skills that they had, and I would certainly try to pick up whatever I could, although needle and thread are foreign to me, but I was very handy with the hot glue gun. I talk about faith first because but for faith and but for God, nothing else would exist. Without faith, you don't have family. You don't have the good fortune that I've had. So that's the bottom line. I'm going to talk a little bit about family. That is the next in order to me. My husband and I have been married for 6 years, and we have a beautiful daughter named Gwen. Hopefully more to come. And I live 2 miles from my mom and dad. And that is wonderful for many reasons, because we have this beautiful 15-month-old little girl. And my parents are a big role in that. But also, I want to talk about family. It's so important to me because my husband and I had a really important decision to make. I work full-time. I'm a prosecutor. I've been prosecuting for almost 6 years. And when we had our baby, I took off my 3 months and stayed home with her. And when it was time for me to go back to work, we looked at each other and we decided we didn't want to put her in daycare. I was raised by my mom. She stayed home with my sister and I. And that core family value was so important to my husband and I that we decided he was going to stay home. So he stays home and he raises our daughter. He is the best father there is. I'm so proud of him. He has the hardest job in our family by far. I come home from work and I relieve him. And I want you to understand that's the importance that I put in family, for her to get that close bond with us. And then lastly, fortune. And when I talk about fortune, I'm talking about it's been my fortune to serve the citizens of Montgomery County. It's been my fortune to know the people that I know, to be part of this county that I think is the #1 county in the United States. It's certainly a place where everybody wants to be. It's certainly a place that we have seen a tremendous amount of growth. We've doubled in the last 10 years. And with that growth, obviously, we've got these wonderful amenities going on, but we've also seen an increase in crime, which is my take on where this court needs to go. We're filing about 10,000 to 15,000 cases a year. in Montgomery County, those are in the misdemeanor criminal courts. We need somebody on this bench who's able to take care of these types of dockets. I'm the division chief of the misdemeanor division, which means I manage 12 prosecutors. In my career as a prosecutor, I've done everything from speeding tickets to capital murder. So I've seen a lot about what goes on in the county. Some of my opponents will say that this is a statutory court. It is not. It is a court that the judges decide by agreement what to hear and what best serves the county. And clearly, we need to be hearing criminal cases. And that's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Okay, let's open it up for questions.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on one of your questions, it was asked, what is the proper role of non-governmental organizations in the criminal justice system?
Sure.
My understanding of the question, and my husband can correct me, is one of the things they're trying to find out is how do you feel like faith-based organizations, how do they fit in?
All right.
And
So I
what is
just,
your- yeah, and you weren't the only one.
Sure.
So, I'm
Okay, my-
interested in your viewpoint of faith-based intervention as far in the system,
okay.
in the criminal justice system.
Sure, and I answered that as, like Mothers Against Drunk Driving was one of the organizations that I was thinking of, but we're talking about faith-based, give me an example of some that
Okay,
would like to get involved.
chaplains in jails and stuff,
Okay.
because there are jails across the country now that they're closing the doors
Oh.
to faith-based people coming in.
That's a tragedy, that's horrible, there absolutely should be chaplains in the jail. There's a great need, there should be, that's an opportunity for people that have had bad times and made poor decisions. That's usually when you're hit rock bottom is the time when you start kicking out for a little bit of light, and that's a wonderful opportunity for some people to receive some fellowship and to receive some good news. And certainly that should be happening in the jails. I'm horrified to know that's not happening.
And some of the other areas would be like paroling to a faith-based organization and stuff.
Sure, and I mean, I think there should be options for that. I mean, it's just like there's Alcohol Anonymous is actually very religious-based. And I think that's a very positive thing, and it's a very good motivator. I think parolees are another perfect example. This is somebody that's been in the system, that has been seeing horrible things going on around them in prison. It's not a pleasant place. And that's a wonderful opportunity to take that into account. Absolutely.
Questions over this side?
Yeah. What is it about Sandra Day O'Connor that inspired you besides the fact that she was a woman?
I think I'm most, sorry if I cut you off, but I think I'm most inspired by the fact that she's #1 in Texas. And she is a woman who had to overcome some really horrendous challenges in her time. She desperately tried to get work. She was graduated the top of her class with all honors, and when she came out of law school, no firm would hire her because she was a woman, and strictly because she was a woman.
I'm referring more to the job itself.
I think, the Supreme Court justices, I think as a job, she's a very conservative judge. A lot of people may criticize her for some of the decisions that she made, but I've always respected her that she handled herself truly and honestly. And I still believe that she's a very conservative judge and a lady to wit.
Good comment.
Yes, a wonderful cowgirl. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Let's go to Amy Dawn, and then where was the next one? I'll come back to you, Adrian.
On number 15 of the questionnaire, where it says, should Roe versus Wade be overturned, you said you honestly don't know, but you find great peace in knowing that you never have to make that decision. Can you explain both answers? Why don't you know, and why do you find great peace in not having to make that decision? Because you said you're against it, and you're really glad you have a kid, but I'm wondering,
Absolutely.
where do you really fall?
I think it's kind of tough for judicial candidates to talk about Roe versus Wade because under our ethics canons, we're not supposed to talk about how we would rule on a certain law. So ethically, there are some rules that bind you from talking about that. So I find great peace in the fact that as a county court judge, I will never make that decision. I will never make the decision about whether or not Roe versus Wade should be overturned.
I still don't understand why that gives you great peace.
Because that is a decision that has been horribly misconstrued and debated time and time again. And the fact that even the girl who was the subject of that came back and said, I didn't even want an abortion,
Right.
came back and said that, goes to show that the problems that the law has in keeping up with what is actually happening. Now, I myself